This is Mark Hitchcock. I want to welcome you to Marking the End Times. This is a show that's designed to help you understand the times that we're living in today, turbulent times, from a Bible prophecy perspective. And on today's show, I want to discuss the global digital ID. That's an idea that's been out there for some time now, but is gaining even more and more momentum. And really, I think everybody that knows the Bible can see how this is all headed ultimately to this one world global empire and economy of the Antichrist. I'm also going to answer some great subscriber questions, some really good questions that have been sent in. I'll mention what those are about a little bit later. But one announcement I just want to make is the Tipping Point Conference sessions, great sessions. These are available now at endtimes.com. For paid subscribers to go and to be able to access those. So if you're a paid subscriber, go to endtimes.com and you'll be directed there how to get to the Bible, the prophecy conference sessions that we had. So you want to be sure and go there and look at that. Well, what I want to talk to you about today is national or global digital IDs. We've talked quite a bit here on endtimes.com, at least I have, about central bank digital currencies. Everything's going digital. We're going to have digital currencies in the future. By the way, China, just this last week, they passed $100 billion of yuan of their currency now that's been spent this year in central bank digital currencies there. And this is something that's happening all over the world. And we pointed out several times the importance of these because digital currency is trackable, it's traceable, it's programmable to what you spend it on, and it's expirable. It can expire when they want it to go away. So that's a way to control people economically. But at the same time, all that's happening on the economic front, you have national and even global ID systems that are coming in that are digitalized. That again, just like this digital currency, will be easily hijacked by the Antichrist and the end times to control people's lives in every area. A couple things caught my attention this week. One in Bloomberg, there's an article that says South Korea aims to boost economy with digital ID on blockchain. I'll talk about that a little bit more about what's happening in South Korea. There's another article in Epoch Times that says Australia's new digital identity, one step closer to China. This person is warning that with this digital identification system, this will probably be tied eventually, as it is in China, to a social credit score where they'll really have increased control over your life and access to basic services. But one article that especially caught my eye this week on this topic is in an article called Biometric Update. And the title says, Gates Foundation commits $200 million to digital ID and other public infrastructure. And the article says this: the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation has renewed its commitment to digital ID, topping up its investment in the space as part of a total package of $1.27 billion in support for global health and development projects. This latest $200 million is for digital public infrastructure. And the article goes on to say that there's a UN provision that set a goal of universal legal identity. That means digital identity, global digital identity by the year 2030. Now, all of this is happening because people will say, well, this is a matter of helping the marginalized. It's to aid the marginalized. 1 in 8 people in the world today have no formal method, official method of identification. And so this is being pushed as a way to help marginalized people have an identification. They say that it's going to help those who are invisible become visible. In other words, they're going to move out of the shadows into the visible. It's also being pushed for convenience sake. That you're going to have all of your data, all your information, your health information, voting information, financial information, everything will be accessed in one place in this digital identification that you have. It's also being pushed as a great cost savings. Here's what one person has said about this, about the savings that it's going to bring financially. It says the World Bank calls digital IDs a game changer. McKinsey and Company sees their potential to increase a nation's gross domestic output by up to 13%. and cut business costs by trillions of dollars. McKinsey's estimate is based on wide take-ups of digital IDs, saving time in administrative work, reducing payroll fraud, expanding consumer credit, facilitating trade, and spawning new markets. Every service that hasn't been able to truly transition online will now be able to do so. So this is being pushed as just something that's going to help marginalized people have an ID. It's going to be convenience, and there's going to be great cost savings, they say, that's going to be associated with this. One of the things that's fascinating about all of this, I think, to me, is South Korea. South Korea is pushing this really unlike any other nation. They rank number one in the world when it comes to enthusiasm and ability to apply tech to everyday life. So you'd expect that South Korea would be kind of a laboratory for this. But in this article, it says in Bloomberg, Koreans currently rely on resident registration cards similar to a U.S. Social Security card to identify themselves. Under this proposal, an app would embed those IDs into mobile devices. So all of that would be in a mobile device. And Korea is launching digital IDs in 2024 and seeks their adoption by 45 million citizens, basically within 2 years. So Korea is pushing forward in this full force where you'll have this digital ID, no more need for a passport to carry your medical records with you, voter identification cards, none of that. It's all there. And there's another nation that's interesting, kind of a lesser nation, that's also implementing this, the nation of Estonia. Some of you may not even ever heard of Estonia, but most of its eligible 1.3 people have a digital ID to vote, pay bills, sign documents. The government allows phones to be used for verification if a special SIM card is attached, according to its website. Now, one of the things that's fascinating, this is also true in South Korea, people can vote using this digital ID. They can do it online. Now, as if we haven't had enough problems with voter fraud and all the things in our country, think about having voting carried out in that way in your country. It's fraught with all kinds of disasters. But according to proponents, here's what the digital ID, the benefits from it. It'll facilitate online medical services without visiting doctors in person. You can enter hotel rooms by just scanning smartphones over kiosks. It prevents ID forgery and theft. You can approve contracts remotely without a need to sign them. You can have enhanced fast-track boarding processes at airports. So these are all the kinds of things, obviously, that everyone's in favor of. We'd all like all of this convenience and the things that are associated with this, but you don't have to be, a conspiracy theorist to see that these are fraught with all kinds of dangers for freedom and access for those that fall out of favor with the government. The World Economic Forum, those who are in favor of the Great Reset, and the World Trade Organization are pushing global identity of persons. This is something that they're pushing strongly. I want to just read a few quotes from the World Economic Forum that's led by Klaus Schwab. They meet yearly in Davos, Switzerland. Just a few quotes from them about this. It says, any package, pallet, or container can now be equipped with a sensor, transmitter, or radio frequency identification tag that allows a company to track where it is as it moves through the supply chain, how it's performing, how it's being used, and so on. So we're all familiar with that. Goods and services are tagged like this, and they know where they are in the supply chain. But the concern now is that people are going to be treated like products and services. Klaus Schwab says this, in the near future, similar monitoring systems will be applied to the movement and the tracking of people. So they lay it out right here. This is not something hidden. They're going to try to track people the same way, and it's going to be done through this digital identification. In the World Economic Forum, their global risks report in 2019, listen to these words, authoritarianism is easier in a world of total visibility and traceability. They say it right out. Authoritarianism is a lot easier when there's total visibility. In other words, nobody's in the shadows. Everybody has this ID and there's traceability. So digital identity allows governments and corporations to have total visibility and traceability over people and things, both physical and digital, while determining which products, services, and information we'll be able to access. So all of this, we see digital currencies, but especially now this digital identification system that's being pushed by the Bill Gates Foundation, the World Economic Forum, the World Trade Organization. All of this will be easily hijacked by authoritarians and ultimately by the Antichrist. You think about a digital identification, a global digital ID joined with a digital currency. That will be a double threat to freedom and will play right into the hands of the coming Antichrist. And also think about this, when there's this global digital ID, there's all kinds of things that can be attached to that. It'll start out just being an ID to make it easier to travel and easier to vote and have your medical records there, and all this in one place. But all kinds of things later can be attached to that, such as your carbon footprint. When they decide that you're using too much fossil fuels, there can be a carbon footprint attached there that if it's too high, the number's too high, certain goods and services will be denied. They could have your vaccine status on there. In other words, have you been vaccinated? How many boosters have you had? And if you're not up to date enough, then again, certain things can be denied to you. And ultimately, I believe, even like in China, where there's this social credit score, that also can be attached to your digital ID as well. And it will flag you, and you'll be denied access and be denied services, which is exactly what Revelation 13 says. You can't buy or you can't sell without the mark of the beast. In other words, you're going to be trapped. And so that's where all of this digital momentum is really headed. The convergence of digital currencies, digital IDs, it's headed to the empire of the Antichrist. What we're seeing today is setting the stage for what's coming. And again, should remind us even more clearly that the rapture of the church is at hand. Well, thank you for watching today. Right now, we're going to go into a subscriber-only portion where we'll be answering some really great questions. I'm going to answer a question about the book of Enoch. I had an article last week at endtimes.com about taking Bible prophecy literally. And someone's asking me about a specific passage and how we'll take that literally. I also want to answer a question in Revelation 20 about the first resurrection. So some great questions to answer. If you'd like to access, you can go now to endtimes.com to sign up. It's only $7 a month, and you get access not only to this show, but hundreds of articles by Jimmy Evans and articles by Greg Laurie and all kinds of video content. So I encourage you to become a subscriber.